This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hi, welcome back to another episode of Our Community. I am your host, Kevin Young, and I have a special guest with me here today. But before I get to the guest, I want to share something a little personal with you all. Recently, I've been really caught up in my family tree. I've been over on Ancestry and really trying to learn about my history, and discovered that my 11th great-grandfather was the famous Chief Memberto of Nova Scotia. He was in the Acadian area around Port Royal. And he was written about a lot by French visitors to the area, and I've gotten to learn a lot about him. And just today, actually, I come out to my mailbox to this. This was a stamp that was made in 2007 to commemorate Chief Memberto. It was part of the French Ancestry series. Memberto was written a lot about, like I mentioned, by the French. And I came out to this in the mail today. Very surprised to see that. Kind of emotional, actually. It really was heartwarming to see this. Someone sent this to me. So Daniel, if you're watching, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. It was a beautiful gesture, a beautiful gift, and it will be framed and put up in my home. So thank you very much for that. But I wanted to share that with you all before we get on with the show, because I thought it was great. A great thing to have happen. And my family tree I've left open for the public to see and share. And you never know, if you get a chance to take a look at it, you might find we're related. Why not? In the meantime, my guest today is somebody that I'm sure many of you know in the community, whether you were a food court frequent back in the late 90s, early 2000s like I was, or you love your ice cream and venture down into Curling to Fox's General Store. You will have seen my guest today. I'm talking, of course, about Michelle Payne. Michelle, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. Michelle, I'm so glad you came down and have a chat with me, because you are a face that people see in the community quite often, and they see in a lot of different ways. One of those I mentioned was, of course, your store, Fox's General Store, and all of the outreach you do and all the great involvements you do, but you do so much more within the community as well, and I think it'd be great for the people in our community to get to know a little bit more about Michelle. So why don't we start with, where everything starts. Where were you born?
Sure. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here for sure. I was born in Corner Brook.
Okay.
73, so yes, I'm 50.
You don't look it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So 73 and in Corner Brook, and raised your whole life here? Or?
Yeah, I lived in Corner Brook my entire life until I was 19, at which point my daughter was extremely premature and required some extra care. So I moved to Toronto. Alone with a child,
wow.
Knowing nobody, and stayed there for 10 years. And then I came back.
In Toronto or
in downtown Toronto?
Wow.
Really close to the sick kids in Toronto, because it was imperative that I be within so many kilometers of the hospital for her care.
Right, and that was, what year was that?
93.
93, okay.
And
so
I came back in 2001.
And so, of course, everything worked out for your daughter? Or?
My daughter is wonderful, fine. You see her at the store all the time as well, and my grandson.
Hi, Danielle. In fact, if you go to Fox's and you see someone who looks a lot like Michelle, that's Danielle. Although I've been told when I've mentioned that not to tell her that. So.
Yes, she debates who she looks like.
Yes, yeah. So that must have been quite a venture as a single mom by herself in Toronto. What did you do while you were up there? Were you working there? Or?
Not at first. At first, it was really a matter of life and death for my child.
Right.
So it was. I sold everything I owned. Had nothing. So I just stayed in a hotel until I could find an apartment. Got an apartment. Spent some time on assistance as my daughter needed to survive, and part of that survival was giving her some CPR and stuff because she would stop breathing.
Oh wow!
So yeah, but then I started working. A friend of mine actually moved from here, from Corner Brook, to Toronto, and was pretty close by. So I actually went back to school, got a degree in income tax, actually.
Oh, wow.
And started working.
Yeah, wow.
So I was there probably a year before I could work with comfort without a nurse care for my daughter.
Right.
Yeah.
And so 10 years you spent up there with her, and so she grew up her first 10 years there.
Yeah.
What led you to coming back to Corner Brook?
So in 2000, in May of 2000 actually, I had a 13-year-old sister. I have one direct, where we share the same mother and father. I had one direct sibling like that, my brother, but my father was a bit of a roamer. And I also had some, as people like to say, half siblings. I don't consider that. My siblings are my siblings. However, for people's comfort, they're my half siblings. So I had a 13-year-old sister who was in Toronto. She was autistic, and I used to visit her and take care of her and stuff. She was in a home because she was pretty severe, and my father and his then girlfriend weren't able to care for her. So in May of 2000, just after her 13th birthday, she suddenly died. So that was quite shocking, but then my brother turned 27. He was in Newfoundland. He turned 27 in July, and he suddenly died September the 1st of the same year. At that time, my grandparents were still alive. They've only died throughout COVID. And I could not bear the thought, really, of getting another phone call, that I was so far away.
Yeah.
And I hadn't spent time, I'd been away for a lot of years, so, and my brother and I were 11 months apart in difference. Like, we grew up together. I went right behind him in school, all the same teachers, you know how that goes here. So when he suddenly died and I got the phone call, my sister had just died 3 months prior. Now he's gone, and I thought, my grandparents are older. I don't want to have these regrets again. And I went to see my daughter's neurologist, and he said, sure, if it's hormonal changes, that'll be a problem now, and we'll keep an eye on that with your daughter as those happen. So he kind of said, you're in a safe zone if it's important, and it was super important to me.
Yeah, and so that led you back to Corner Brook.
Back to Corner Brook I came.
Yeah. And so what did you start doing when you got back? Did you end up pursuing career with taxes?
No, I did that in Toronto for a very short time, and what I realized pretty quick into it, when it was personal income tax, it was good, it was great, because I could help you and show you things and help you get more money than you ever thought. So, it made individuals very, very happy. But when I was doing, which you kind of move up and get stuck in roles you don't necessarily like, and I was doing corporate taxes in a cubicle. Well, if you know me at all, I am very social.
Yeah.
A cubicle doesn't work.
No.
So I gave that up in Toronto pretty quickly too. And I started running Burger King up there, actually.
Oh, wow. So Burger King up there, and then you come here, and there was no Burger King.
I didn't start off running Dairy Queen.
No?
I started off...
You jumped ahead.
When I came home at first, I always had an interest in photography.
Right.
So I decided I would apply at Sears Photographer, the photo thing up there.
Yeah.
So I worked there for some time, not all that long, maybe 4 or 5 months, and the owner of Dairy Queen had just had a child and came up, and I took her first pictures at Sears. And he came up to see me at Sears again to pick up his pictures, and when he did, he asked, he started having a conversation with me. I didn't know I was being vetted for anything. But by the end of the conversation, he asked me, would I be willing to act as manager of Dairy Queen?
And that was
I was.
In the Valley Mall.
In the Valley
And that's
Mall.
when I first met you.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I was a frequenter there for those $1.25 slices of ice cream.
Yes.
But yeah, so I met you there, and that's kind of how that started there. But obviously the food court didn't last too much longer than that. It was only
It was
a few
7 years.
Yeah.
I ran it for 7 years, actually to the day.
Right.
I started running it at October the 1st, and we shut October the 1st.
Wow. And so 7 years of Dairy Queen, it shuts down. All of a sudden we find out, Taylor's in curling is, changing ownership. The owners are retiring. Talk to me about that transition. Like, what led to you going from managing this Dairy Queen and the Valley Mall food court to all of a sudden now you've got a corner store?
Well, so Dairy Queen wasn't intended to be shut permanently.
Mm-hmm.
It was, we were just looking for no new location we were going to rebuild. Or not we, Larry was the owner. And so on October the 1st, I got laid off because we're closed. And that was okay with me until about the middle of December, at which point I had never been laid off in my life. Mm-hmm. That had never happened. From the time I started working in Toronto when I was able and my daughter was about 2, until then I'd never once been laid off. I changed jobs because I wanted to. I'd never been. So it was kind of silly of me, I guess, that I didn't realize prior, but it was like, somebody else is in control of my life.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I might not have a job tomorrow. Mm-hmm. What is this? I'd never felt that before. I like I say, silly, like you didn't realize that someone else is actually controlling whether or not you go to work. Larry was hoping to rebuild, and I couldn't sit around idly. It's not who I am, but I knew that Larry would need me to come back and run Dairy Queen for him, which was my plan all along. I was going to go back to Dairy Queen. And, but I was buying Taylor's because it'd be a pretty easy thing in my silly little mind at the time to do and still be able to go back to work for Larry. So that happened. I put in an offer and cashed in all my RRSPs that I'd been saving my entire lifetime.
Yeah.
And I actually got a grant for my Indian status. I received a grant for that and some help from NALO, which is the women's group, to help me along the way as well. So I did that, bought Taylor's, and all set to go back to Dairy Queen. And then in August, I was out with a couple of friends, took a fall, ruptured my ACL and my MCL, had to have them surgically repaired and put cadaver ligaments in.
Yeah.
Fast food is now out of my life.
Yeah.
There's no shot. Like, you just can't do that with...
All that time on your feet and moving around.
Yeah, and my knee, because of who I am, I woke up from surgery, and not recommend this to anybody. I did not follow directions, and I didn't go home and go to bed and put my foot up. I left the OR, because it's a day surgery, left the OR and went to work at Fox's.
Wow.
So my ligaments didn't take, I ruined it.
Yeah.
So I knew that Dairy Queen was out of the question, and once I broke that news to Larry, he just kind of said, well, I'm not opening it without you. So I guess you can buy the equipment if you want. Oh. There was a lot longer conversations than that, of course, but through the jigs and reels, that's what it was. He wasn't going to open it if I wasn't going to be a part of it.
Curious then, because Fox's is, for many things, one thing known for their ice cream. Did you intend to have ice cream there like this in the beginning? Because you just mentioned you had Fox's, and then afterward end up buying the equipment. So that wasn't your initial intent?
No.
No,
I had no intentions at all of going into ice cream. But within maybe a week of so I bought May the 11th, 2010. And maybe within a week of it, which I'm still intending, August is not here yet, I haven't ruptured my knee. My intent is still Dairy Queen. But within a week of me by the end of May, I was getting phone calls that, well, we need a cake now. Like, that's just not, that's not good enough kind of thing. So I did acquire a soft serve machine, And my intent was to do it because I was it was being requested too much, and I always have been about customer service, and I really didn't want to be telling my customers, oh, no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So I got a soft serve machine and said, this is what we'll do. I'll do it until Dairy Queen reopens, and then it'll be a very minor part of Fox's later.
Yeah. So here's a big question, and I don't know if you've ever mentioned this before. So if you want to keep it a secret, feel free to do so. But why the name Foxes?
So it's twofold, actually.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've ever noticed the sign, our logo.
Right.
So I had drawn that years ago.
Okay.
So that was just, I used to draw a lot, and that was just something I'd drawn. And my father had been with Lena Wells for the last 20 years to that point of my life. So Lena was the mom that I never had. She facilitated a connection with my father that I'd never had. She was certainly a grandmother to my daughter that she'd never had, even though my mother was alive and well. Lena was a huge part of my life from the moment pretty well I gave birth to my daughter and then on. And actually had moved to Toronto to help me take care of her.
Oh, wow.
For some time. So Lena was a very important person in my life. And she asked me, would I name the store for her husband who was deceased, who everybody called Fox.
Oh, wow.
So to me, I'm a very strong believer in destiny has a way of getting to you. Whether you intend it to or not, your destiny will find a way to bring you where you're supposed to be. So when she asked would I honor her husband, and I looked at the picture that I had drawn, and I'm now owning a business that I'd never intended, I thought destiny is telling me something, because I had drawn this picture for no particular reason. She's asking me to name it for a picture that I drew, like that, because I'm all about logos, I'm all about visuals and branding and things. So it fit perfectly. I felt like destiny was telling me that that's what I'm supposed to do.
And there it is.
And there it is.
And it's been Fox's now. So how many years has this been?
13. It'll be 14 in May. So
Wow.
Lena died a few years ago, and one of the last things she had said, like she came to the store all the time. She loved it. She was always so grateful that I did that, because my dad meant the world to her, of course. They were together for many years, but had her husband not died so young, that wouldn't have been the case.
Right.
You know, she dearly loved her husband.
Wow. And of course, there's no shortage of Foxes when you go in there.
And there is not.
So that must have been a thing you did after the fact, I guess, was it?
So funnily enough, I've never purchased one or obtained one on my own. When I bought the store, I would come to the store and randomly open the store in the morning, and sitting in front of the door would be a fox.
Oh, wow.
And this happened about 6 times.
Yeah.
I had like 6 at one point.
Oh, wow.
And since then, I don't have as many now. I think I may only have 1 left, because the grandchildren of the men who made them have come to the store after their grandfathers have died. There was 2 or 3 of them, I think, different men that had done them. I don't know if that's who gave them to me, because it was never anything. It was just the fox there. I had no idea how or why it was there, kind of thing. And so once the grandchildren came and kind of said, my pop did this, and look at a picture of my pop with it, and the pop was no longer with us. I also felt that I'm like I said, I'm very much into destiny brings you where you need to be, and very much felt that this is what I needed to do. I needed to give them back to them, and so I did.
So 13 years. What's it been like running a convenience store in Curling for 13 years?
Challenging.
Yeah.
Challenging. Rewarding. I don't know if I'd say fun. It's fun at times.
Yeah.
You know, it's challenging, and it.
Well, I think you surround yourself
certainly
with some great staff.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I have fabulous staff, and fabulous customers. I mean, it can get challenging just because I'd never even worked in a convenience store before. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no clue. I ran restaurants my whole life, or did taxes. Like, I had no idea what this world was. So there's some challenges at times to figure out whatever, but no 2 days are the same, which is very good for me. I'm not one that can do routine so well at my work,
Yeah.
so it's good.
Any plans to continue the way you're going, or are you thinking about anything different? Because you are an entrepreneur, and in fact you've been nominated as female entrepreneur of the year. I think even this year, I saw your name on the nomination list as well. So congratulations on that, for starters.
Thank you.
But I've known entrepreneurs who always tend to want to venture out into other things as well. Is there anything on your mind that?
I'm always investigating.
Yeah.
I think that's the word that I'll use. I'm always, because I always have these ideas and I think I should do this. But as I said, destiny is a thing for me, right? So just because I think I should doesn't necessarily mean I should. And when something nags at me, that's kind of how I live. When it's nagging, then I probably need to do that.
Right.
And right now, the thing that's, I mean, there are some businesses that I'm, you think about and think, how much longer do I want to be working? And, you think all these things, right? How healthy am I now? Do I want to keep doing what businesses might suit me better as I'm getting older and those kinds of things? But my thing right now is, I'm sure you're aware, I don't know how many people are, but Curling was a city before Corner Brook ever was.
Yes.
And so my store, Fox's, the building itself, started off as Bags & Sons down on the waterfront in the early 1900s. And Mr. Baggs, Frank Baggs, took the store apart wall by wall and brought it up and put it where it is now.
That I didn't know.
Yeah, and it has changed hands. I think I'm the 5th owner.
Right.
I think. But I'm doing, my thing that I'm obsessed with at the moment is trying to do history. Being the oldest, I shouldn't say oldest because I'm not sure. Barry is probably older than me, but I'm not positive. But one of the oldest businesses around, I feel like it is my responsibility and duty to try and tell the history and keep the history alive. So with all the peg walls that are around the top of my building now, I am focused on getting history and telling the stories. So, for example, the Bank of Montreal.
I was just going to say, you have something up there right now. I saw that right across the street from you.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's the Bank of Montreal, which was built in 1901 and opened its doors in September the 15th, 1901, I think, or 1902. But so I have the history and the picture put up on the wall, but when I'm done, when I'm satisfied that I have the history completed, I print a little piece of paper with that story, because you're never going to read it from up there, it's too high. So things like that, there'll be pieces of paper that you can take to read the history of the thing. And yeah, so that's what I'm working on right now. So I have the 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd owner posted. I'm still working on pictures of the 4th and the 5th. And I haven't decided on the 6th. So I haven't decided if I want to put my picture there or not, right? I don't know.
We
We'll
need
see.
a picture of Michelle up there.
We'll see. It's very awkward for me and kind of silly, but it's just because I want to make sure the progression is told and seen, and not only of the store, but like Frank Bartlett was really, really kind. I don't know if you know who Frank is.
Yes.
So he had the only museum for curling for many years. And so he has been kind enough to share some information with me that I'm now working on how I'm going to present it in a way that's best.
Yeah.
The wall specifically, do you know what I mean by the wall?
I do, yeah, the German wall.
Yeah, so you can probably speak to it more than me because I haven't even read that much about it yet. But the wall that was built on Bartlett's Point by the prisoners to occupy them.
Yeah, the 2 German prisoners of war in World War I.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that story well.
Yeah, I'm still reading about it. I'm very into history, but there's I don't have a whole lot of hours in a day, so it's like I'm like a dog with a bone. I've got it. I'm very interested in it, but it has to sit in a little pile so I can read a little bit and then compose it and see how to present it best. Because like I say, I believe that this history needs to be kept alive and told, and so that's my new thing.
That's your new thing. That's going to be exciting to see. Can't wait to see it. You do a lot for the community as well, and we don't have much time to talk, but you do a lot of stuff in terms of fundraising for the community with events, with the store. You're also with, is it the St. John's Ambulance?
St. John's Ambulance and Vine Place. I'm a member of the board.
As well, you are. Yeah.
So I'm trying to get into Red Cross now, but they're very hard to get into. Like they really vet you.
Female entrepreneur who's been nominated more than once. I've seen her nomination a few times. Yeah. Have you won any awards yet?
Not from the Greater Board of Trade for Corner Brook, but from like the YMCA and other places,
Well, phenomenal. Hopefully this year is your year for the Greater Board of Trade. And all these other things, of course, well known in the community for all the right reasons, Michelle.
Thank you, I appreciate
I want to thank you for taking the time to come down and have a chat with me, and letting the community know a little bit more about who Michelle is. And the owner of Fox is the 6th owner of that store, that building.
That's right.
So thank you again, Michelle, so much. Really appreciate you coming down and having a chat with me. And of course, thank you to all of you for watching. Really hope that you certainly enjoyed today's episode. And don't forget to come back for the next episode of Our Community. And if you yourself are interested at being a guest, the contact information is right here on the screen. And you can reach out anytime, let us know. We'd love to have you. Until next time, bye for now.
If you have a comment about this program, we'd love to hear it. Email or call us, or send us your feedback through social media.
It isn't the heavy trays that make the job difficult, or the fast pace you need to keep up. It's not working another double because someone called in sick. What makes the job tough is the moment you realize a customer has had enough and you have to make that decision not to overserve. Refusing service isn't personal, it's the law. We know it's not easy, but we're counting on you to keep us all safe. Thank you, servers, for doing the tough job.
Game TV's Watch and Win contest is back with over $75,000 in cash prizes. Tune in to Jeopardy weeknights at 8:30. Spot the code word, then head over to GameTVContests.com to enter. With a new code word every weeknight, that's 35 chances to enter. Don't just watch the winners, be a winner with Game TV's Watch and Win contest. Contest runs October 16th to December 1st. Visit GameTVContests.com for more info.
Hi, can I take your order? Hello?
Oh, hey. Wait, what was the question?
Let me guess. One driving high combo, extra baked?
No?